Yo, what's up, people? In this video, we're going to watch a new subscriber, Blaxican, told me to watch this. I think he said it's like a black person, red pill from a black guy's perspective or something like that.
As men.
Yeah, so anyway, we're going to watch this. I don't know, is this only talking? I don't know, whatever. Also, I saw the music is licensed in this video, so this video might get blocked or demonetized or whatever. So, happy to do it, but in the future, if possible, send me videos that don't have any licensed copyright material.
We have to deal with a lot of hurt. And through all these times, we have these conversations in the brotherhood. We speak of what we go through and the difference between the love of a man and the love of a woman. And I've come to the conclusion that one of the only female traits that I'm jealous of, I envy women for the ability to turn off their love for someone like a light switch, with no remorse whatsoever. While us as men, we have to walk through our lives, haunted by the ghosts of the women we loved and lost. And to this day, there are still women who cross my mind, who haunt my dreams that have been long gone, no words, no contact, and yet my heart still has a small iota of connection to them. There's still love there. I'm still concerned for her well-being. I still hope she's okay, but as men, we have to realize that these women are dead to us. Not in a literal sense, but after we have lost them, I liken it to, after you've lost them, they're never the same woman. They're never the same. Those memories that you share, those memories that you hold for her, those things that you still may think about that bring a smile or make you feel a little good in a dark time, or whatever the case. When you think of the good time, before things went bad.
All right. And you guys wonder why I watch videos at 2x speed. I don't know. This guy in particular talks very slow. And I know that's his style. He's trying to be dramatic, whatever, fine. So he's not wrong, right? Women in general, why do and this is my opinion, kind of based on other stuff I've heard and learned. Why do women find it so much easier to move on than men, right? As men, and whatever, I'm sure some girls out there who are watching this are like, well, actually, that's not true. It's the opposite. I'm in love with my ex-boyfriends for years after they break up with me. Whatever. Anyway, in general, women have a much easier time moving on than men. I think it's for two reasons. Number one, that's just how they evolved, right? If a woman's, if we want to talk purely biological, evolutionarily, speaking, whatever, women, the purpose of a woman is to bear children and continue the existence of our species, right? That's what a woman, that's her purpose in life, right? Take care of the kids, have kids, and I'm not chill out with your feminism shit, but that's, biologically speaking, that is what they were created for. That's how they evolved for most of human history. Men, on the other hand, we're the ones who go get the food, we fucking fight off the other men, we deposit the sperm, whatever. That's our biological. It's almost like depositing, offering our genetic material is really just kind of that's a much smaller part of what we do. Whereas, in terms of contributing to the future of the species directly, in terms of procreating, right? We have a much less involved role. So if women were to get totally bent out of shape about some guy who dumped them or ended up breaking up with them, much less likely that they would be capable of taking care of the species, and not just taking care of their offspring, but looking for the toughest, strongest, baddest, male to mate with, to have the strongest children. So that's number one. Number two, I think it really just comes down to options. Women in general have much more options when it comes to mate selection, right? And men, we don't. As men, and I occasionally, I'm no fucking guru or anything, but occasionally I'll get people who message me who are like, hey man, there's this one girl who I like, and this happened and that happened, what do I do? And honestly, every time I get a message like that, I want to tell these people, and sometimes I do. I'm like, you already fucked up. It's already over. It's done. If you're thinking about it so much that you message me, like, thank you for watching my videos and thinking of me that I'm the person to ask. But like, if you're messaging random people on the internet, like, first of all, if you've asked me, I know you've already asked like 10 other people, right? So you're like obsessed with it. Why? Because that's the only girl that you've got in the wings. That's the only one that you've got who's like paying any attention to you, who you've got a chance with, who you're this far along in the mating dance with. So the solution, basically what I'm trying to say, the solution is to have more options. If you have more options, then you won't have that like problem, really. So you're like, well, okay, it's not really working out with this girl. She didn't return my calls, being a bitch, whatever, fucking flaked on me. You've got 6 other girls lined up, you don't care. You know what I mean? You just don't. And that's the female experience, really. It's like if you're a young, attractive girl, even if you're not young, fuck, you're just attractive. You post pictures on Instagram, you get fucking guys messaging you all the time. Tinder, take your pick, Anyway.
Those same memories she does not share about you. She may not have any memories of you. There may have been so many men since you and her been together. You may be a faint memory, or just maybe a small minor regret of a man who may have been someone for her special, and she destroyed it. But to women, they have countless men like that. But the pride and the ego of the woman will never admit these things until she's far beyond the wall, and it has no bearing on anything. See, these memories of these women, we have to let them go. Because she will never be the same. She's never the same. I'll tell a story. I've encountered one woman in my adult years, in my 30s, that I dated. And I did love her. I did feel like I loved her. I did feel very, very attached to her. But again, this was me before the red pill. So I was still able to love a woman blindly. And over time, we drifted apart, and there was a lot of lies. And she seemed very cold towards me at the end, despite all of the work and effort and tenderness I treated her with. Held no bearing on the outcome. And about a year later, almost exactly a year later, to the day, she reached out to me. And we hung out. And she was different. It's hard to put into words, but she was different. She was like a shell of, like on the outside, she looked like the woman I remember with a few differences. But on the inside, she talked about different things. She spoke of different things. She drank more. She smoked more. The results of all the drinking and smoking.
Yeah. So there's a quote that I think that I've noticed a lot in my life. It says, you can't step into the same river twice. Otherwise known as, you can't go home again. And this is something that I noticed. Does not really have so much to do with... Fuck, I'm not muted, am I? It's just like playing with this mute button. Yeah, okay. This is something that I noticed in my years of life, because I move around a lot, and occasionally I'll go back to the same place again. And even if it's the same people, or more or less the same people, it's always different. There's always a different vibe. It's never... because a lot of the times we have nostalgic memories of a place, and we're like, oh, it was so good here back when this was the case, you know what I mean? These people did, we hung out with these people, these were our friends, and like, we just did this all the time, blah, blah, blah. And that's true, and it's not true. The setting, even the setting will change. Because every time that I would go back, I would notice stuff's a little bit different. It's not going to be the same. You can't go back expecting the exact same thing. You can expect something similar, but not exactly the same. Random example, I went to Houston twice. I worked in Houston for 6 months with, this one company. And then I ended up taking a break and went to Israel for a couple months. And then I ended up going back to Houston. Strangely. Anyway, I went back, whatever. I don't regret it, really. But even though I went back, it was only 4 months that had passed. It was still different, 4 months. And same thing with Tel Aviv. I've gone to Tel Aviv multiple times. It's always kind of the same, same vibe, same like beach city, same kind of attitude, but the people are different. The people that I know there, some are still there, some are not there anymore. The ones that are still there, they're different, shit changes. Not always for the better. In this case, sounds like he's talking about a girl who he really liked her, and then they broke up, and then she just let herself go, drank more, smoked more. Yeah, it ends with the girl, they say don't eat out of the garbage, really. Don't eat, what's the quote? I think I read this on a Red Pill blog. It's don't eat out of the garbage. It looks bad to the neighbors, or something like that. Or you shouldn't do it, and when the neighbors see you doing it, it looks bad. Something like that. Or don't dig through the garbage.
Seemed to have more bearing on her outside appearance. She seemed more distracted, or less intelligent. You know, like when we were dealing, it was always conversations of intellectual property. She would often sit in silence as I explained things to her. But I don't think she quite often knew what I was talking about. See, in my mind, I always thought that as a man, there was a woman that can be our intellectual equal. So when I'm having my deep monologues and I'm trying to explain my theories and ideologies to her, she would sit there and stare. And she would look. And when I asked her what she thought, she would always say the same thing. I'm just listening. Now I know that that is just her way of saying I have nothing to say because this is far beyond my intellectual grasp. And all I can do is listen. Because I cannot participate in this conversation because it's too many levels above my mind's capacity. Now, this woman obviously was out of place with me. But now, I guess in the men she's probably dealt with, she found men that were a little more simpler, a little more, I guess, easier to manage or easier to deal with mentally. Or maybe, in any way, or maybe she could just dominate them outright. But she was not the same. The conversations were different. She was more arrogant, more narcissistic. She wore her hair natural when I met her. When I seen her this time, she had weaves in her hair, different styles of weave every time I seen her. It might have been 2 or 3 times. And one time, she invited me to the museum. And it was random. This was after we connected. And the family would preach our praises to rekindle our flame. And it's like she wasn't the same. I don't know how to explain it. It's like you ever seen the movie Pet Sematary? And they bury the person. And the person, after they died, they bury them in this cursed cemetery. And they come back. They look how they looked, but they were empty. They were gone. Something inside them was dead. And as men, I watched the young man's video, and it was very telling on this particular painful reality that men have to experience, that once a woman is gone, it is almost like if you deal with her, it is if you buried her memory in the pet cemetery. And
I don't know, maybe I'm just like so much more bitter than this person that I'm like, okay, yeah, no shit. Right. So in the red pill, one of the things that you learn is that you should not look to, and this is something that a lot of men do, it's like you should not look to a woman to have, like, for intellectual stimulation, right? Sorry, ladies, it sounds mean, rude. It's not so much that, like, and similarly, ladies, like, you should not look to men for certain types of intellectual stimulation, right? Basically what this means is you should not expect a woman, you should not expect to be able to talk like a woman to a man. No, wait. Talk to a woman as if she were a man and expect her to be able to relate to you on that level, which is what we think because we buy into the whole, like, soulmate, Disney princess, like, somebody special for you out there everywhere. But, you know, and when we realize, and part of that is finding somebody that we bond with and we agree with them on everything, and that might be true in certain ways, but a lot of the time, you know, it's not. Especially, you know, I don't want to say anything bad about, like, modern society, I guess, but generally these days, especially the more attractive a girl is, what incentive does she have to, like, be able to hold a conversation? Really, she doesn't actually have to. She can actually just be hot and not have to carry the weight of a conversation at all because she's hot. And if, like, let's say there's 2 guys who are vying for her attention and they're exactly the same, except one of, you know, on paper they're the same, except one of them is fucking taking her to a museum and expecting her to, like, contribute and talk, and the other one is just fucking entertaining and cool, she's gonna go with the one that has, that requires her to put in less effort. Okay, fine, you can say, like, okay, you gotta make them work for it, you gotta get them invested, blah, 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 that's true. But if the investment is not pleasant, right, there's 2 types of investment, right? One is, like, asking the person a question and them answering the question. The simple act of them answering the question is them investing, okay? However, if you ask them a question, what do you think about fucking astrophysics and, you know, like, the fate of humanity, talk about this, like, heavy shit that's, like, engages the part of the brain that doesn't have anything to do with asking the question, do I want to fuck this person? That's not good. But if you ask them a question about themselves and you let them talk about themselves, oh my god, people won't fucking shut up about themselves. I'm not muted, am I, by the way? I'm sorry I keep doing this, but, like, I just... Alright. So anyway, the point is that, like, don't look, as a man, don't look to women for intellectual stimulation. If you want that, make a friend. Fucking go on 4chan, really. Find that from other men. What you should do, what I encourage you to do, and what I try to do, is tailor my communication with the results in mind, right? If you're going to talk to a woman, for example, you have to think, what is the outcome that I want? What result do I want from this conversation? Okay, if it is, like, for example, let's say you want to have sex with a girl, right? Why would you talk to her about something that is not going to put her in the mood or show you in a light that makes her think that you deserve to have sex with her, right? Why would you talk about anything else? You wouldn't, right? If you're, let's say you go to a business meeting as a man, and again, I'm not like jumping down his throat or anything. This is a mistake that all men make unless they're instructed at a young age on how to actually do things properly. Let's say you go to a business meeting, okay? Why would you talk about, okay, fine, yeah, you make small talk, schmooze the other people a little bit, fine. But when it comes down to it, why would you talk about anything? Why would you talk in a way that does anything other than convince the person to try and do business with you? Yeah, okay, you can make the argument like disqualifying yourself or like pretending to disqualify yourself. Like, listen, I shouldn't be telling you this. You know, we're here, we're talking about making a deal, but look, you probably shouldn't do business with me. You know, why? Because like blah, 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 X, Y, Z. And the other person will think like, well, he's saying I shouldn't, but that makes me trust him even more, so now I really want to. Fine. Don't nitpick. You know what I mean? That still has the overarching purpose of convincing them to do business with you, right? That is the ultimate end. You're not actually saying, look, don't do business with me. This is really bad. Like you should leave now. You're in danger. You know, don't do that. So it's kind of the same thing for women. It's like, what do you want from the girl? And you should figure that out beforehand. And if you're looking for intellectual stimulation, you're headed for trouble. I'm not saying there aren't girls who can satisfy that need. They can. I've had girls who are friends. Did we talk about like philosophy and shit? Not really. Doesn't mean you can't be friends with a girl.
And when you meet her again in the future, she's gone. She's different. The girl you remember is dead. She's no more. And you're like a family member that's trying to hold on to the physical outside of them and pretend that they're the same person, yet they're a shell. They're ruthless. They're cold. Everything about them is gone that you remember and been replaced with the memories of other men and other men's energy, because women are vessels. And once that new man or men pollutes her, she's never going to be the same. It's gone. And when men get to this point, it's very dark to remember. And I would never forget the last time I seen her in person. And she came outside and I looked at her and she seemed so burnt out. And I think I mentioned this in my previous video. She just seemed empty behind the eyes, you know? Something was gone. Her skin didn't shine. She was something else. I mean, she may have had the same smile. But at this point, I became a better man. I was better than her. I knew I was better than her. And I almost felt like I was degrading myself, almost. With all my newfound knowledge and understanding after the red pill, I was almost impenetrable. And this one woman comes and she has a little chink in my armor, but I still feel like I'm disrespecting myself, knowing that she left me to be other men's whore. Other men fucked her and left her, used her and abused her, did all types of things with her in the bed and used her and left her because there's still an open slot a year later. Now, it's different if you leave a woman or you guys break up and she goes on to be married and has a successful relationship and a husband after you. You can't be, you can get a little upset, but...
Yeah, so here's the thing. You can call me fucking blue pill, white knight, call me whatever you want, I don't give a shit, but like, I don't... Okay, and I know this is an artistic statement. Sorry about the sounds of Vietnam. Anyway, I know this is an artistic statement, like, it's very poetic, right? He's doing it with the music in the background. The Pet Cemetery analogy. This is like, it's like poetry, kind of, right? It's like spoken word poetry, whatever, fine. I understand it's an artistic statement. The words are chosen here in order to elicit specific emotions, similarly to how music and whatever lyrics are designed to do the same thing. Really, any speech in general, but it's less of a like logical approach to communication and more of a like, I'm gonna use these words to like push buttons and pull strings, which is fine. Okay, I get it. But like saying that, you know, you broke up with a girl and she went to go be other men's whores, like, you know, it comes from a bad place, and it's not, and the fact that it comes from a bad place means it's bad. It's poisonous to the speaker, is what I mean, really. If that is the attitude that you have, then you, and again, like I said, I know this is art, I know this is like whatever, poetry, fine, and it needs to kind of be emotional in order for it to, that's just how poetry is, right? It's got to have some emotion behind it. You've got to use strong words like this. right? Or maybe you don't. I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, I think that and it's very tempting, right? I'm not sure when this guy discovered the red pill, but it's very common after guys discover the red pill to go through what's called an anger phase, which is where I went through this. You realize that you're not going to get your Disney, fairy tale happy ending. Women are not as pure as you thought most of the time. And when you break up with a girl, she's fucking replace you in a second. You're not as special to her as you thought. It's it makes you angry. It makes you bitter. So I'm not sure if this is an expression of the time where he was going through that, and like this is like an artistic statement, or if he actually feels this way and this was him putting it to words with music in the background. I don't really know. Whatever. Anyway, here's the point. It's not good to call women whores. Really, it's not. Like people are doing what their environment tells them is the best choice to do. That's what we all do, right? We all respond to our environment much more than we give ourselves, well, not give ourselves credit for it, than we think we do. We think we have a lot more agency than we really do. I personally don't think we have much agency at all. I mean, why are you watching my video? Really? Why are you watching this? Actually, do you think that like you made the conscious decision, you're like, I'm going to watch this video, and I've watched it, what do you watch it, 20-something minutes in at this point? Or is it much more likely that your brain is undergoing, processes that you, in a billion years, couldn't hope to understand, and you've just been fucking pulled in the direction of, like, watching this video and listening to me talk and listening to this guy do his, like, spoken word remix about a girl who dumped him. Like, your life is really not your own. You're really just responding to the cues in your environment, to the thumbnail, to the title, to the fucking YouTube algorithm, to whatever room you're sitting in watching this now, to whatever experience you've had in the past 8 hours that led you to finally want to watch this video, right? It's all like, you don't really understand why you do what you do. Case in point, women, why do they do what they do? Why would a woman go from one man to the next? Because her environment makes it easier for her to do so. You've got so many options when it comes to men. I mean, men, think about it like this. Let's pretend that you open up your phone and you have fucking 10 new messages a day from girls who are trying to fuck you. What are you going to do? Are you going to give a shit about any one girl who, like, you go have a couple conversations with about philosophy? Like, no. She acts out, like, she does something you don't like. See you later. I got fucking 30 more people in my DMs that are like, want to take me to dinner. What do I need to spend time with you for? You irritated me. You didn't respond to my text, or like you responded too soon to my text. The woman's perspective is such that women don't actually know how attractive you are until they spend a little time with you. Okay, fine, physically they know, whatever. But like you can. How many times have you heard a girl say he was great until he opened his mouth? And it's true. You can kill your attraction for a girl or kill her attraction for you very quickly by saying some stupid shit. And I know every single man who's watching, I don't care how good looking you are, I know you can relate to that. But women, the reason why they want to spend time with you is because they don't really know. They have no way of telling like how attractive you actually are in the bigger scheme of things until they spend time with you and spend time with you in certain situations that will test you. So the equivalent for a man is like, oh my god, I'm not muted, am I? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm just like going off on a fucking rant here. Anyway, the equivalent for a man is, let's say that you were talking to a girl and somehow you were not able to tell if she was really fat and ugly until you spent a certain amount of time with her. That's the equivalent. Are you not going to be much more cautious as to whether or not you fuck her, right? Or let her into your life? Because what if you let her into your life, and then 2 weeks down the line, you realize that she's actually 350 pounds and has one leg? No offense to any of you 350-pound one-legged women out there, but that's the equivalent for a man. So I think the next step in the red pill education or exposure is a more balanced understanding of what women actually go through, and less of a like, we've been violated as men, it's not fair, right? It's true, it's not fair. We are lied to growing up, but it's like, okay, fine, what are you going to do with that knowledge? You going to cry about it on the internet? I'm not saying he's crying. I'm talking about the greater red pill community as a whole, as I see it. Are you going to cry about it, or are you going to try and look at both sides of the coin and see that, you're not the only one who has challenges, really.
You can see that at least she went out and did good things. And in that, you can kind of feel better. But when you know you were that man, and then she goes downward and just sleeps around and just dates and get ran through by men, that's more insulting. That's more heartbreaking. That's the one that you can't let go. It's almost like a fantasy that you still have a fresh photograph of it. And you look at that copy of maybe a picture of you two when you were happy, and you have a fresh mental photograph of that entire moment, that entire engagement. You may be able to play back the film perfectly moment to moment, and you can relive that feeling of joy and peace and that love you felt for her. But on her end, it's gone. There's nothing there. So I ask that men, you learn to bury her memory. Let it go, because she's gone. Never go back, because it's never the same. Just like Pet Cemetery, once they go there, and this Pet Cemetery is her leaving for the darkness, leaving your light for the darkness of being promiscuous and whoring around and dating. That's the Pet Cemetery. Once she goes there, from your light, from your goodness that you gave her, and she leaves that for that cemetery's rotten soil, and she stays there and rises from that and comes to find you again, remember these words: she will never be the same woman. She's gone. She's dead. She may look the same. She may have the same quirks, but in her soul, she's no more. And she'll never be that person again. And you need to remember that. It's one of the hardest and most painful truths that a man has to live with, because this is a lonely road, and all we get to really have are the memories of the women we loved. And if we have children, those are the closest things to loving beings that we can have. So men, take these words, think them over, cover your six, stay frosty, stay aware. This is the Ghost God. Peace.
This fucking mute button is gonna be a death to me. I don't know how fresh this breakup is. It seems fairly fresh. I always remembered anytime I went through a particularly emotional experience and it was fresh in my mind, making videos is new for me. I used to write a lot. I'd always want to write about it. I was like, I just had this thing happen to me, this thing I went through. I would go home as soon as I could and write all of it out and create this equally as flowery description story that I would tell about the experience. It's art at the end of the day. Yeah, I don't know, am I just so bitter that I just am duh? Or is it also possible that I haven't, because it's one thing for me to sit here in my cafe with my headset on and be like, well, yeah, no shit, dude. But if I had experienced the same thing extremely recently, let's say I was going through the same thing as him a few days ago, I'd be crying, he's so right. She'll never be the same. But yeah, it's easy for me to say, basically, is what I'm saying. But you know what they say? I was thinking this when I watched this last part. I was like, nothing gets you over the last one like the next one, really. And that's hard for us to understand as men, because I can honestly remember every girl who I know I'm not the only one who does this, but anytime you meet a new girl as a man who you feel that there's potential with, you always imagine, you future project, you forecast your entire life together. You're well, we could do this together, we could do that together, what if we got married, we could start a business, we would have kids, what would our kids look like? You think all this shit in your head, ladies, we're way worse than you in terms of romanticness. We're the absolute worst. Pathetic. It's actually pathetic. But we do that, really. I think that's also we evolved that, really, because those are the men who care enough to submit, really, to the power of a woman, to give her everything, really, which is what men do. What? Think about it. Why would a man stay married? I don't know. I've seen some marriages where and fine, there's good ones out there, blah blah blah, but I've seen marriages where the man is clearly not happy. He's miserable. He's not loving his life. But why does he stay? It's just hard to leave. It's hard to get out. And I think sometimes I think about I've had a couple girlfriends, this and that. Most of the time the girls have broken it off with me. Thank God. Thank God. At the time I was crushed, devastated, fucking ground into powder. I was so devastated. But and I remember people would always tell me, they'd be I promise you someday you'll say thank you that she dumped you. And I do now. Oh my goodness. I no offense to any of my exes who watch this, I love the time we spent together, and not all of you. Also, there were a few good ones, or one good one at least, 1.5 maybe. But eventually, like, you're just happy it's over. But honestly, what I really feel this comes down to is a distinct lack of men's ability to procure many options for themselves. To date, aside from being a celebrity, there's no what men has that? What men have that? What men have that? Not a lot. Like, if you're a celebrity, you're famous, fine. Or you're like top 1% of attractiveness, in body-wise. You send, half-naked pictures to girls, they send you nudes. But still, it requires the work of going out and doing that. This is why I love games, because I really believe that, like, because games like sales. You go out, you prospect for leads. Some leads are better than others. Some girls, like, you go talk to 20 girls in a day. Some girls, they're going to be like, oh, get away from me, loser. Like, maybe she had a bad day. Maybe she doesn't like you. Maybe she only likes tall, blonde, blue-eyed guys, and you're not that. Maybe she woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Maybe she's on her period. Maybe, right? Some girls, she's a graphic designer and, like, gets no attention from guys ever and is like a freak in bed and is just, like, dying for some guy to talk to her. And then, boom, you show up and you're like, hey, what's up? How are you? You're, like, nice and friendly. She's like, oh, my God, finally. Yes, take my number, please. Let's go out. What are you doing tonight? You run the gambit, but you don't know until you actually go and talk to them. Similarly, in sales, yeah, you can profile people, but you don't actually know until you open a dialogue or attempt to open a dialogue with that person and see, what's what. Anyway, I don't know. I didn't find this too particularly stimulating, but then again, I'm also clearly much more bitter. my bitterness is, like, sunk in to my personality, and also I don't have a fresh breakup in my mind, which it seems like this guy does. Anyway, if you guys have any other recommendations for videos or YouTubers, let me know. Leave me a comment. How many subs does this guy have? I'm curious. Anyway, peace.